The Garonne is a river in southwest France and northern Spain, with a length of 602 kilometers. It flows into the Atlantic Ocean at Bordeaux. Geography. Sources: the Garonne's headwaters are to be found in the Garonne Valley in the Spanish Pyrenees, though three different locations have been proposed as the true source: the Uelh Death Garonne at Plan de Barre, the Ratera Saboredo Cirque, 42.607295 degrees north, 0.965424 degrees east, 42.607295, 0.965424, or the slopes of Picanito. The Uelh Death Garonne at 1,862 meters above sea level has been traditionally considered as the source of the Garonne. For this point a brook runs for 2.5 kilometers until the bed of the main upper Garonne Valley. The river runs for another 38 kilometers until the French border at Pontaré, 40.5 kilometers in total. The Ratera Saboredo Cirque is the head of the upper Garonne Valley, and its upper lake at 2,600 meters above sea level is the origin of the Rue de Garonne River, running for 16 kilometers until the confluence with the Barre Garonne Brook, and another 38 kilometers until the French border at Pont del Rey, 54 kilometers in total. At the confluence, the Rue de Garonne carries 2.6 cubic meters per second of water. The Ratera Saboredo Cirque has been pointed by many researchers as the origin of the Garonne. The third thesis holds that the river rises on the slopes of Picanito at 2,300 meters above sea level and flows by way of a sinkhole known as the Forêt de Aiguilluts through the limestone of the Tuca Blanca de Pomero and a resurgence in the Val d'Era Artiga above the Garonne Valley in the Spanish Pyrenees. This underground route was suggested by the geologist Ramon de Carbonelles in 1787, but there was no confirmation until 1931, when caver Norbert Casteray poured fluorescent dye into the flow and noted its emergence a few hours later 4 kilometers away at Uelh's Death Garonne, in the Artiga de Lin on the other side of the mountain. From Aiguilluts to the confluence with the main river at the bed of the upper Garonne Valley at 800 meters above sea level, the Garonne has run for 12.4 kilometers, carrying 2.16 cubic meters per second of water, while the main river is carrying 17.7 cubic meters per second. Despite the lack of universal agreement upon definition for determining a stream source, the United States Geological Survey, the National Geographic Society, and the Smithsonian Institution agree that a stream's source should be considered as the most distant point in the drainage basin from which water runs. The Ratera Saboredo Cirque is the most distant point in the drainage basin from which water runs, and the source of the Garonne. According to the United States Geological Survey, the National Geographic Society, and the Smithsonian Institution convention upon determining a stream's source course, the Garonne follows the Garonne Valley northwards into France, flowing via Toulouse and Agen towards Bordeaux, where it meets the Gironde estuary. The Gironde flows into the Atlantic Ocean. Along its course, the Garonne is joined by three other major rivers, the Ariège, the Tarn, and the Lot. Just after Bordeaux, the Garonne meets the Dordogne at the Bec d'Ambes, forming the Gironde estuary, which after approximately 100 kilometers empties into the Atlantic Ocean. Other tributaries include the Save and the Gers. The Garonne is one of the few rivers in the world that exhibit a tidal bore. Surfers and jet skiers could ride the tidal bore at least as far as the village of Cambys, 120 kilometers of 75 miles from the Atlantic, and even further upstream, although the tidal bore appears and disappears in response to changes in the channel bathymetry. In 2010 and 2012, some detailed field studies were conducted in the Garonne River in the Arkins Channel between Arkins Island and the right bank close to Lastrine Township. A striking feature of the field data sets was the large and rapid fluctuations in turbulent velocities and turbulent stresses during the tidal bore and flood flow. Towns along the river Erin Valley, Vielle-Bossost, Haute-Garonne, Saint-Gaudens-Muret, Toulouse, Tarn-et-Garonne, Castel-Sarrazin, Lot-et-Garonne, Agen, Marmont, Aiguillon, Gironde, Langon, Bordeaux, Le Verdon-sur-Mer, Charente-Maritime, Royange. Main tributaries. Following the flow of the river, navigation. The Garonne plays an important role in inland shipping. The river not only allows seagoing vessels to reach the port of Bordeaux but also forms part of the Canal des Deux Mers, linking the Mediterranean Sea to the Atlantic Ocean, allowing a shorter and safer way for goods to pass from the agricultural areas of the south of France to the Atlantic. For the ocean, ships pass through the Gironde estuary until the mouth of the Garonne. The Garonne remains navigable for larger vessels up to the Pont de Pierre in Bordeaux. River vessels can sail upstream to Castet-Saint-Dorth, where the Garonne Lateral Canal joins the river. Prior to the building of the Garonne Lateral Canal, constructed between 1838 and 1856, river shipping used the Garonne itself as far as Toulouse. However, the navigation of the upper river was very uncertain, and this stretch of the river is no longer considered navigable. Instead, the lateral canal takes the ships through 53 locks to the town of Toulouse, where the canal meets the Canal du Midi, the next stage of the Canal des Deux Mers. The Garonne Lateral Canal was subject to one of the largest infrastructure works in Europe, when it was adapted to the standardized barge size of 38 by 5 meters. During the 19th century, French Minister Freycinet ordered that all major canals used for long-distance transport be suitable for vessels of those standard dimensions. The extension of all of the former 30-meter locks to the new standard length was carried out throughout the lateral canal. The other half of the Canal des Deux Mers, the Canal du Midi, partly escaped this operation, because by the time the works had reached the area where the most locks were situated, commercial traffic on the canal had almost disappeared. The works were stopped, leading to the cultural heritage status of the United Nations that has made the Canal du Midi famous.